The distant future, the year 2000. A new millennium has just started, and in 76 days, there will be a match that will enter the canon of Lucha Libre as one of the greatest of all time. The first words of this story were written all the way back on January 29, 1975. Benjamin Mora Jr., Francisco Flores, and Ray Mendoza have just put on their first show after splitting from La Empresa Mexicana de Lucha Libre under the Promociones Mora name. This promotion would more famously be known as the Universal Wrestling Association, and for the majority of their 21 years, they would be one of the most important promotions in Mexico. Another name they used was LLI, Lucha Libre Internacional. Time after time, UWA would sell out El Toreo de Cuatro Caminos, absolutely dominating the scene in the 70s and 80s. In the 1970s alone, they had 16 different events with over 20,000 people in attendance. If you look at a list of the top 10 most attended Lucha Libre shows of the 1970s and the 1980s, UWA has at least one event in every single spot. In total, 33 events, as some UWA events are tied with others in terms of attendance. To put this in perspective, for these 2 decades, EMLL had only 4 events total rank in the top 10. UWA were absolutely on fire. Their shows featured some of the biggest names in Lucha Libre: El Santo, Perro Aguayo, El Solitario, Mil Máscaras, René Guajardo, Fishman, Canek, Villano III, Anibal, and many, many more. They would even bring in the biggest international talent as well: Antonio Inoki, Tatsumi Fujinami, Luthez, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, and the list goes on and on. Throughout the 70s and 80s, UWA was the place to be. As I mentioned earlier, one of the stars featured higher up on the UWA cards was Villano III. His father was one of the founders of the promotion, the great Ray Mendoza, and his brothers also worked for UWA. Villanos Primero, Cuarto, and Quinto were often teaming together as a trio. Another fun fact here is that UWA was where the trios concept really caught fire in Mexico, and it remains the most popular match type among many Mexican fans, including me. Anyways, by all accounts, Villano III was the standout of the family, and he was very, very successful in UWA. Villano III was the first UWA World Welterweight Champion, a 2-time UWA World Light Heavyweight Champion, a UWA World Junior Light Heavyweight Champion, a UWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, and a 7-time WWF World Light Heavyweight Champion. And you must be wondering, how did a WWF title get here? Well, the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship was created by the WWF for UWA as a part of a partnership all the way back in 1981. For some reason, however, the WWF doesn't recognize the lineage before Taka Michinoku won it in 1997. A lot of the top names in UWA held this belt, the first champion ever being the legendary Perro Aguayo. Villano III held this belt 7 times, the longest reign being 826 days. On top of his many championships, Villano III also found extreme success in luchas de apuestas, winning mask after mask, hair after hair, throughout the 70s and 80s. Some of his most notable wins were against El Perro Aguayo, El Signo, El Tejano, Rambo, and in the 90s, Pegasus Kid. Of course, Villano III had other apuestas victories, although the number depends on who you ask. Villano III himself claimed 140 masks and 100 cabelleras, but the number is hard to verify. I have seen a list of 78, but some of the dates were not verified. The point here is, Villano III was a beast and a draw. He was among the most important people in UWA at a time where they were dominant. Sadly, things would not stay the same for UWA. Going into the 90s, it all started to fall apart. Their lead promoter, Francisco Flores, passes away in 1987. The stars start aging and UWA is unable to make more. Then, AAA starts up in 1992 and they lose even more ground. Eventually, UWA just start fading out, and some of the crowds on those last shows are just brutal. In 10 years, they go from 25,000 fans at their 9th anniversary show to 1,750 at their 19th anniversary show. I'm not missing a zero there. They do less than a tenth of their attendance just 10 years ago. Thankfully, the end of UWA does not mean the end of Villano III, as he is able to continue working in both AAA and CMLL, and in the late 90s, our beloved Villano III finds himself in CMLL. On the other side of this match, we have Atlantis, who made his debut in 1983 for EMLL and has basically been a lifer since. Atlantis was a student of El Diablo Velasco, arguably the most important trainer in the history of Lucha Libre, a bona fide star maker who produced talent like El Satánico, Los Hermanos Dinamita, Mil Máscaras, El Solitario, El Dandy, and many, many other big names. Atlantis takes well to EMLL, winning the Mexican national middleweight belt from Jerry Estrada in November of 1984. Atlantis would win the NWA World Middleweight title thrice, the Mexican National Tag Team titles, the Mexican National Trios titles, the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship twice, the CMLL World Tag Team Championship twice, and the CMLL World Trios Championships, all before the year 2000. Atlantis' biggest apuestas wins at this point included victories over Talisman, Hombre Bala, Kung Fu, Tierra, Viento y Fuego, EMS-1 alongside El Satánico, and Mano Negra. Atlantis would also be featured in UWA some as well, but not with the regularity that he had with CMLL. Atlantis' first encounters with Villano III were in the early 80s, and he would actually be teaming up with him in various trios matches. It wasn't until 1993 that Atlantis and Villano III would stand across the ring from each other, but this would not be the official start of their famous feud, just some coincidental matches between the two. It's really hard for me to pinpoint exactly where this feud kicks off. The two shared a ring at least 76 times before their apuestas. Some of these times were as partners and others as opponents. I read in The Observer that this feud starts around 1998, but really heats up in 1999 and then peaks in 2000. So based on that information, I first watched Atlantis, La Fierra, and Negro Casas against Hijo del Santo, Fuerza Guerrera, and Villano III from Friday, September 11th, 1998, 1 week before CMLL's 65th aniversario. As soon as the bell rings, Atlantis is going after Villano III, and he's not even in the ring. Things get pretty gnarly for Atlantis in the second fall, eating plenty of knees to the face from Villano III and having his mask ripped up. It's also in this fall that the Rudo, Hijo del Santo, switches back to the technical side, betraying Fuerza Guerrera and Villano III. Things break down even further when Scorpio Jr. and Bestia Salvaje run in, and it just turns into a massive brawl. In the midst of all of this, you see Villano III and Atlantis lighting each other up and brawling all over the place. Santo gets some words on the mic post-match, explaining he is now a técnico, but nothing from Villano and Atlantis. Yet. The two would clash sporadically through 1998 and early 1999, often on opposite sides of tag teams and trios matches in Arena Mexico, Arena Coliseo, and Arena Puebla. On June 5th, 1999, CMLL aired a video segment with Villano III showing the audience around his trophy room. He points out some of his championships and even shows some of the scars on his head, the cost of his success. Last, he points at an empty spot on the wall and says, "This is a special spot for a special person, for someone who I supported early in their career and now wants to turn their back on me. It's for you, Atlantis. Your mask will be here among all my trophies." On June 13, 1999, Villano III unsuccessfully challenges Atlantis for the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship. There's no footage of this match that I could find. In fact, I couldn't find any of the Friday matches after that September 11, 1998 match up until June 25, 1999. In the pre-match segment, Villano III talks about how Atlantis wants his mask But what Villano wants is Atlantis' light heavyweight championship. The second Atlantis touches the ring, Villano III is upon him, raining down blows alongside Pierrot Jr., who has recently become Puerto Rican. The whistle hasn't even blown for the start of this match, and already Villano III has destroyed Atlantis' mask. Los Rudos completely own this fall, devastating their opponents in every which way. Atlantis is severely bloodied, and the second fall starts just like the first, with the Rudos dominant. However, the pendulum always swings the other way. Los Técnicos gather their footing, and Atlantis unleashes his pent-up frustrations on Villano III. Their brawl spills to the outside, and Atlantis picks up a row of seats and brings them down on Villano III's body. The match ends in 2 straight falls, with Villano III pinning Atlantis with help from the ropes for the second fall. Jumping forward in time some more, Atlantis defeats Villano III for the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship yet again on August 3, 1999, in a sold-out Arena Coliseo, another match I cannot find footage of. Throughout August, we had Atlantis and Villano continue to meet in various tags and trios, and on August 20th, 1999, at Juicio Final, they clashed again in a trios match, with Villano III securing a pin on Atlantis for the first fall, and then Atlantis forcing Villano III to submit to La Atlantida in fall 2. After the fall, Atlantis continues to stomp on Villano III's back, even as he is being checked on by the ringside doctors, which made for a slightly comical scene. On September 10, 1999, Atlantis teams with Brazo de Plata and Mr. Niebla against Villano III, Apolo Dantes, and Shocker. This match sows the seeds for the mask match at the 66th aniversario. After taking 2 straight falls, Atlantis and Mr. Niebla ask for an apuestas match at the aniversario show. Shocker and Villano III are game, but before that, challenge the Técnicos to a Super Libre match the very next week. Now this match on September 17, 1999 is under Super Libre rules, which just means there really aren't any rules. And once again, the masks are ripped, the blood is flowing, and Los Rudos are in control. There's a moment in this first fall where Villano III tries to make a blood mist with Atlantis' blood, similar to what Pirata Morgan would do, and it's really awesome. There's a ton of brutality early on, and it makes for some really great moments. Villano III has Atlantis pinned against the turnbuckle as he gestures to the crowd. Shocker walks up and blasts Atlantis in the kidney with a strong punch. When the Técnicos turn it around, Atlantis is able to submit Villano III with a tapatía, and after releasing the hold, swarms him and rains down even more punches on his midsection. Fall 2 has more great moments, including a section where Shocker and Villano are using Atlantis as a battering ram to further punish Mr. Niebla. Over and over, they slam the men together. Not even the law can stop them, as Los Rudos just slam Atlantis into the objecting referee as well. Of course, this ends the match, as the other referee decides this violence towards the officials is too much, even for a Super Libre. In the post-match, Dr. Alfonso Morales crouches over the bloodied Atlantis in the ring to gauge his thoughts. Atlantis declares he wants the Máscara contra Máscara against only Villano III. There is no need for Los Relevos Increíbles next week. When questioned if he will be ready, Atlantis responds he has a week to recover and is willing to go through much more. Villano III gets time on the mic as well and assures the people he will defend his mask. It doesn't matter against who. The next chapter of this story takes place at CMLL's 66th aniversario show. Atlantis and Villano III team up against Shocker and Mr. Niebla. The losers of this match will be forced to defend their masks. Villano III is out first with a great entrance. He walks not from the ramp, but rather from one of the other entrances in the arena, a spotlight following him along the way. The other men get similar entrances, each coming through the crowd instead of from the ramp. This match is a single fall, so there are no second chances here. The first team down will be forced to put it all on the line. It's played really straight early, the Rudo on one team beating the Técnico on the other. The match is really good with some really good teamwork by both teams. About 5.5 minutes in, Villano and Atlantis are able to successfully eliminate Mr. Niebla by doubling up on a pin. Both men then turn their attention to Shocker and are giving him a solid beating until Shocker causes some discord and separates the two. Atlantis is eliminated after a betrayal from Villano III and the sides are evened up. Both Rudos start celebrating, happy that the Técnicos are out, but there's more here. As Villano III celebrates on top of Shocker's shoulders, he points to his head as if to say, all according to plan. He then rolls Shocker up and sends him into the lucha de apuestas against Mr. Niebla. Shocker was simply outplayed by the older and wiser Rudo. However, Villano III doesn't get to celebrate his victory for long, as Atlantis rushes back in the ring and starts viciously beating him. They are separated and their participation in this match ends here. And if you're curious about the result, Shocker loses his mask here and lets the world know just how guapo he is. The following Monday, on September 27th, 1999, Villano III once again unsuccessfully challenges for Atlantis' CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship. Over the next month and a half, Atlantis and Villano III would find themselves on opposite sides of 5 multi-man matches in Arena Mexico, 2 of which were 4 versus 3 handicap matches featuring Gigante Silva as a técnico. Their interactions in these matches are what you would expect for 2 men in a mask feud. Lots of dirty fighting, mask ripping, blood, and challenges. After their match on October 1st, Villano III says sooner or later, that mask will end up on my display case. You've seen it. Atlantis couldn't beat me in a tag team, much less a mano a mano. That mask will be mine. Just a week later, on October 8th, the match ends after Atlantis rips off Villano III's mask in a fit of rage. And I like to say it's moments like these that really elevate this mask feud. We're beyond Técnicos and Rudos now. This is passion, right? The refs have to physically restrain Atlantis from beating on Villano III even more. Atlantis has snapped, and after being tormented by Villano III for weeks and weeks, he gives him a taste of what he's been dishing out. Atlantis is so frustrated, he even shoves a commission official at ringside. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, this earns Atlantis a 2-week suspension, which tracks as he returns to Arena Mexico on October 28th. On November 5th, before the match even starts, Villano III starts pummeling Atlantis as he talks to Dr. Alfonso Morales. The match doesn't go very long, less than 10 minutes, as Los Técnicos sweep in 2 falls. But these 2 falls are pure Rudo dominance. The first fall is lost because of excessive violence, and the second is lost because Villano III took a pair of brass knuckles to the cranium of Atlantis. The only reason Villano was caught is because he stashed the weapon under his arm. The ref started raising his arm to award the fall, and the weapon fell out. Atlantis does a fantastic job of selling the knockout here. He looks genuinely hurt, as if Villano III genuinely hurt him with that reinforced punch. A little after 2 weeks later, on November 22nd, 1999, Villano III finally defeats Atlantis for the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship in Tampico, Tamaulipas. According to the Observer, this was a sold-out show of 5,500. Villano once again employed the use of brass knuckles to help earn this victory. On his 4th attempt, Villano III was finally able to become CMLL World Light Heavyweight Champion. The last month of 1999 saw Villano III and Atlantis clash in a couple of multi-man matches and a singles match for the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship in Cuernavaca. Of course, Villano III had a successful defense here. On January 21st, 2000, Villano III, Shocker, and Dr. Wagner Jr. defeat Atlantis, Emilio Charles Jr., and Mr. Niebla in Arena Coliseo. The match ends in the 3rd fall after Villano III puts Atlantis in a submission he calls El Cristo Negro. In the post-match interview with Dr. Alfonso Morales, Villano III exclaims, "Again, I clearly beat him. What more do you want? You want my mask? It's right here. Come and get it. The same thing that happened to Super Astro will happen to you. The day I took your title, I sent you to the hospital and I sent Super Astro into retirement. If he still wants to face me, I'll do it with pleasure. I'm here to prove that I continue to be number one, the world champion. The following week, on January 28th, 2000, Villano III teams up with Fuerza Guerrera and Bestia Salvaje against Atlantis, Emilio Charles Jr., and Negro Casas. Villano III has brought his brothers, Villano Cuarto and Villano Quinto, to sit ringside in Arena Coliseo. They're both dressed very sharply. As per usual, Atlantis and Villano immediately start brawling. The Técnicos take the fall quickly, with Casas and Charles earning pins in the ring, all while Atlantis is beating Villano III all around Arena Coliseo. Atlantis even breaks one of the seats in the front row. Los Rudos regain their footing and fall too, Villano III forcing Atlantis to submit to a tirabuzón. And in the final fall, as Atlantis is preparing a tope to the outside, Villano Cuarto and Villano Quinto finally make their move and start beating Atlantis to a pulp. The referee never sees this transpire, and Villano III is easily able to submit Atlantis in the middle of the ring. Los Rudos win. For the third straight week, Villano III meets Atlantis in an Arena Coliseo Trios match. They run a vignette showing Villano III and Satánico in a training ring, hyping themselves up to team with Fuerza Guerrera against Atlantis, Emilio Charles Jr., and Tarzan Boy. Again, Atlantis and Villano captain their teams. The first fall ends with Tarzan Boy getting absolutely hogtied and beat to a pulp, so much that the refs had to disqualify the Rudos for how bad they were beating him. Los Técnicos take this match in a clean sweep, with Atlantis locking in La Atlantida on Villano III. After the match, you see Atlantis making championship gestures around his waist, wanting another crack at the belt he just dropped to Villano III. And well, Atlantis gets his wish, because on February 11th, 2000, he challenges Villano III for the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Championship in Arena Mexico. This is the first Arena Mexico main event of the 2000s. Villano III is seconded by Villano Cuarto, and Atlantis is accompanied by Tarzan Boy. Villano III takes the first fall with a submission, a variation on a tirabuzón. The second fall is a lot more back and forth and ends with Atlantis submitting Villano III with La Atlantida. In between falls, the CMLL doctor is checking on Villano III, and commentary is telling everyone that he has a back injury. The cause of this injury is Atlantis dropping to his knees for even more torque on La Atlantida. Villano III is taken out of the ring and carried to the back by his second and brother, Villano Cuarto. Unfortunately for the champion, the ref has decided to continue the match and starts to count out Villano III. Cuarto tries his best to delay the count and is fairly successful in doing so, as there is no way Villano III could have made that 20-second count without it. His brother's actions keep the belt around Villano III's waist, as he's able to make it back to the ring just in time. Sadly for him, Atlantis has been waiting and immediately goes after that injured back. Every time we see Villano III go down, his back is affected and things seem grim. Thankfully, all it takes is a shift in momentum. Villano III reverses an Irish whip, chains that into a power slam, follows that up with a clothesline, and keeps Atlantis down with a senton. Then to tie it all together, Villano III softens up the knee and puts Atlantis in El Cristo Negro, forcing him to submit. It's a clean finish right in the middle of the ring. Villano III is still the CMLL World Light Heavyweight Champion. After the match, Atlantis makes a passionate plea for a lucha de apuestas against Villano III in Arena Mexico. He asks for a representative from CMLL to make the match right now. He is answered almost immediately as someone comes out and acknowledges this challenge. If Villano III agrees to the match will be scheduled. The camera is cut to Villano III in the locker room, and he begins his response by talking about how even injured he was able to beat Atlantis. Villano III then happily accepts the challenge. It takes a little while to get the match signed, and a little over a month later, on March 10th, 2000, Atlantis and Villano III will have their final meeting before their legendary match. This night, Atlantis was teaming with Rayo de Jalisco Jr., Mr. Niebla, and Perro Guayo against Villano III, Bestia Salvaje, Scorpio Jr., and Shocker. There's no time wasted here, as Atlantis destroys both Villano III and his nice pink entrance jacket. Villano III doesn't take this lying down and eliminates himself by straight up pulling Atlantis' mask off. Atlantis gets him back, as once again he forces Villano III to submit with Atlantida. Atlantis continues to beat on Villano III, and we then see his brothers Villano IV and Quinto storming to the ring. The numbers are too much, and the 7 rudos overwhelm the 4 técnicos. Atlantis getting a particularly harsh beating. In the post-match, Villano reiterates that we will be victorious next week, and thanks to all of his fans who support him week after week. March 17th, 2000. 20,000 fans pack Arena Mexico, and many more watch around the country on pay-per-view. The atmosphere is unlike any other. The entire arena buzzing with anticipation for one of the biggest matches in CMLL history. Commentator Dr. Alfonso Morales opens this main event. In professional lucha libre, there are very strange phenomenons. There are gladiators who, upon losing their masks, feel like they die. There are gladiators who 5 or 6 years after losing their mask cannot recover and retire, still lamenting the loss of their mask. We'll be seeing Villano III, a man who has an expanded experience in professional lucha libre. From the House Imperial that is led by the unforgettable Maestro Ray Mendoza. He is one of the most important luchadores to exist in the last 15 years. And if we go with Atlantis, the idol of the children, this is the place where he has reached his biggest glories. You have to remember the night he faced off with Rey Acosta Veloz, Kung Fu. He won the mask of one of the most important martial artists of Mexico. And another one when he beat Mano Negra. That mask was valued highly, and after losing, Chuy Reza Rosales was never the same. And all of you watching on Sky will be witnesses to the 2 most important masks in Lucha Libre today. Who are you rooting for? El Técnico or El Rudo? The important thing is that you are here at this historic site through Sky System. Welcome. First out is Villano III. As the Pink Panther makes his way to the ring announcer makes sure to inform the people that no one in this Villano family has ever lost their mask before. Villano III gets huge cheers as he enters the ring. Atlantis is out second, coming through a special entrance, not down the ramp like Villano III. As Atlantis makes his way to the ring, the camera captures him from a lower angle, and from here the feeling changes to that of a cautious hero marching towards a grim fate. The people in the crowd extend their hands to get an acknowledgement from Atlantis as he walks by them. As he enters the ring, we get both cheers from his fans and jeers from everyone siding with Villano III. There's a lot of people rooting for Villano III. Before the match even starts, we get very loud Villano, Villano chants from the crowd. This match is announced as 1 fall, and the seconds for each competitor revealed as well. For Villano III, Scorpio Jr. For Atlantis, Rayo de Jalisco Jr. One of the first big moments of the match comes before the match even starts. The referee selected for this match is Baby Richard, and Atlantis has a huge problem with this. Thinking this referee cannot be impartial, Atlantis asked the commissioner, Felipe Hamli, to assign another referee. It takes a while and he doesn't want to leave, but eventually Baby Richard exits the ring and makes his way to the back. Referee Rafael Maya will be officiating this now. The match starts clean as a whistle, both men wanting to test the other on the mat. They trade holds and float through transitions and escapes until Villano III starts to bend the rules a bit. Atlantis reaches the rope on a shoulder hold, but Villano III doesn't give it up. The ref starts his count and scolds Villano for not giving up the hold, and Atlantis takes it a step further, shoving Villano III in the middle of the ring. This shove reminds Villano III who he is tonight, and he starts chopping at Atlantis and rips his mask significantly after dropping him. Villano keeps the upper hand, getting Atlantis out of the ring and hitting him with a disgusting tope suicida. This attack causes their heads to clash and blood to be introduced to this match. Atlantis has taken a lot of damage from this tope. He is cut open and his essence is slowly escaping his body through that cut. Villano III took some damage as well. He is slow to get back in the ring and stumbling about. He makes it to the apron, grabs Atlantis by the mask, and starts blasting him in the face with knee after knee. This is one of the moments that genuinely makes me wince, as the knees thrown here have a lot of mustard on them. Atlantis is able to fight back and lift Villano III up for a suplex, but it is reversed and Villano gets his first near fall of the night. Every time the camera cuts back to Atlantis, he looks even worse. Half of his beautiful white mask has now been stained a very dark red. Atlantis gets a 2 count as he enters the ring, but nothing more. Although Atlantis is fighting, Villano III is still firmly in control of this match. This is highlighted by the deep cavernaria Villano locks Atlantis into, which immediately gets turned into a tabla marina. Atlantis is in trouble, but he manages to escape, only to get put in la de caballo. Once again, Atlantis is able to escape and put Villano III into a submission of his own. Of course, Villano escapes and we get a very memorable moment with Villano III dropping the elbow and posing on Atlantis while trying to get the pinfall. Atlantis kicks out, and as he tries to recover, Villano III forces him into yet another submission, this time a Cristo. From there, another submission, a Muda lock, and despite all these attempted submissions, Atlantis continues to fight and hold on to his mask. Every time Atlantis starts to gain his footing, Villano III is there to cut him back down. Slowly but surely, Atlantis' efforts are getting greater and greater. He is able to lock in his own la de caballo, a campana, and even a cangrejo. They're not enough. We know what it will take, but Atlantis can't get there yet. Both men are showing unbelievable resilience, and although Villano III has remained in control for most of this match, it has not been easy for him. The men trade near pinfall after near pinfall, both just narrowly short of a 3 count to end the match. Atlantis hits a huge plancha from the top rope that ends with him being the one under a pin. The fight continues and again Atlantis has the advantage. Villano III has been forced out of the ring and dazed with a kick through the ropes. Atlantis scales the turnbuckles and launches himself yet again at Villano III, and this time Villano just has to take the full power of Atlantis' plancha. We get a shot of both men on the ground, seemingly exhausted and gasping for air. The seconds are trying to cool off their competitors, and when both make it back into the ring, the dance continues. Commentary starts believing Villano III has won this match by locking Atlantis in a variation of a tirabuzón, but Atlantis escapes yet again and punishes this attempted submission with one of his own. The crowd is still into this. Villano! Villano! Chants echo through the arena yet again. Villano III goes for another pin but is unsuccessful, and the commentary team makes a note that by their count, Villano should have beaten Atlantis 18 times already. The crowd seems to completely believe this too, reacting loudly to each near fall at this point. But Atlantis is a warrior. He has proven this time and time again. He attempts another submission, an inverted gory special, but again Villano III knows his way out of this one too, and uses his strength to pull himself up and over Atlantis, rolling him up in the process. Commentary again makes an interesting note here. Through the match, Atlantis has been punishing Villano III's back pretty heavily. We know what's coming, and Villano III knows what to look out for. He cannot let this come to pass. Villano III fires off a huge lariat. He follows it up with a guillotine leg drop and a big senton, hoping to crush what little strength Atlantis must have left. He goes to finish up this combo with a Cristo, but Atlantis sees it coming and catches Villano III in a roll-up. Both men are able to get up, and Villano III rushes at Atlantis, but this is just what Atlantis was waiting on. He lifts Villano III and in one smooth motion locks in his signature submission, La Atlantida. This move that for months has tortured Villano III, forcing him to submit time and time again. Surely this is the end. Atlantis has played his final card and the game is over. No. With his last ounce of strength, Villano III escapes the hold. Atlantis is visibly frustrated, slapping the mat and arguing with the referee. If he was just a little bit less tired, he could have finished this. Atlantis eats a big lariat from Villano III upon standing up, but Villano III is in pain, grasping at his extremely weakened back. Rafael Maya checks on both men as they stand up, and then Villano III rushes in for another lariat, but Atlantis dodges. The soles of his feet smash into Villano III's lower back, further weakening an already frail body part. The blood is in the water. Maybe it was desperation, maybe it was confidence. Whatever it is, Villano III channels it into one last attack. He rushes at Atlantis one last time and is once again hoisted into La Atlantida. He's escaped once, surely he can get back out. Villano III tries to hold on as Atlantis takes a few steps with Villano on his back. He doesn't submit immediately, but Atlantis takes it one step further. Atlantis drops to his knees and brings the entire weight of Villano III down upon his shoulders. This last movement is enough to convince Villano III to submit. The legendary hero of El Toreo has fallen. The crowd erupts, and commentary lets the world know that this face of Atlantis, this is the face of triumph. Other people start entering the ring. Atlantis is celebrating, but Villano III is sharing a moment with his family. His brothers, father, and one of his children have joined him in the ring. Once again, the crowd is chanting his name, and Leobardo Magadan has gone in to interview Villano III after the match. It was an excellent battle. You lost, but you lost with your head held high. Villano III responds, "I'm not leaving badly. I'm leaving happy because I did it for the people. Although I failed some of you, this match went how it should have. No one interfered. Now I will be taking off my mask because the people deserve respect. Thank you." Magadan follows up. "Villano, what was the hardest moment of this battle?" "All of it. I've been suffering for a long time. I've been wanting to demonstrate. Tonight Atlantis won, just tonight. It's not forever. Atlantis was better than me. There's not a problem. He beat me the right way. No excuses, no pretext. I'm going to take off my mask because that was the agreement for this match. My respect." Magadan makes another comment pointing out just how much support this Arena Mexico crowd was giving Villano III, and Villano replies, "I thought the support the people gave me was really good. From the moment I stepped in the ring, you saw it. Now, my father will take off my mask. That was the deal. I'm honest, and I like being honest with the people who have gotten me to where I am. Thank you to all the people who, Rudo Olimpio, which técnico, have always supported me. And while you keep coming to the arenas, I will keep fighting with my heart in my hand." Ray Mendoza starts untying Villano III's mask, and Magadan points out how Villano III has had a 25-year career. Again, Villano III thanks the public and expresses his respect for them. Villano acknowledges Atlantis' victory and says that this is the first time this has ever happened to him. However, he feels good losing to someone like Atlantis, a great luchador. Villano III then asks the crowd to give Atlantis a round of applause. At last, the mask is taken off. When asked his name, Villano III looks to the crowd and tells them, "My name is Arturo Mendoza, and I am 45 years old. I'm at anyone's service. You saw it. I can still keep wrestling 10 or 20 years more. Thank you, and a round of applause for Atlantis." The broadcast then cuts to Dr. Alfonso Morales, who is standing by with Atlantis. "Atlantis, we have watched a confrontation of phenomenons. The people are divided." Atlantis responds, "Thank you to the people. Because of your support, this mask, the one I desire the most, has cost me sweat, tears, and a lot of hard work. This mask is for all of my people and all of the children. Thank you again. This mask belongs to you." Morales then asks if there was any point at which Atlantis felt he had lost. Atlantis responds by putting over Villano III as the strongest luchador he's ever faced. He lets the people know he prepared for an event like this, and he believed in himself, in God and his family, and that's why he came out ahead. He beat a very good luchador. Atlantis goes on to talk about how much this victory cost him, and this is the 7th mask Atlantis has won. Dr. Morales thanks Atlantis, and we transition to one more interview on the ramp after the show. There are a few more words from Villano III thanking the crowd, and even a few words from Ray Mendoza, Villano III's father. He thanks the people for the support, and then the broadcast team signs off. And just like that, it's over. Over the last few years, Atlantis has talked more about this match. In 2020, CMLL put up an interview with Atlantis talking about the match. He reveals how nervous he was in the time leading up to the match and how much he had to train and prepare for the match. On his way to the ring that night, his mind was completely empty. He wasn't thinking about a thing. But when he hit the ring, he really had to concentrate on the task at hand. Although it was his home arena, the amount of support for Villano III made Arena Mexico feel like El Toreo. In this interview, Atlantis also discusses the challenges he faced during the match as a result of Villano III's tope that caused them both to bleed. It wasn't just the head-to-head collision, but also his eyesight, which was affected by the blood. Atlantis talks about how nervous he felt when Villano III did not submit to his first Atlantida during this match. Another concern was numbers, how Villano III had his family as backup, and how that was always in the back of Atlantis' mind, as he didn't have that. Of course, nothing ended up happening with the additional Villanos, and it was a clean one-on-one match. In an interview with the YouTube channel Lucha Libre El Arte de Goch, Villano III talks about this match with Atlantis. He says that Atlantis is his most admired rival and talks about how Atlantis was able to endure everything Villano threw at him that night. Sentons, El Cristo Negro, and many other things. There was a lot of respect shown by both men when asked to talk about the match. The build was very intense and brutal, but when it came time, they both wrestled an unbelievable match. I wish I had more to tell you, as I know there are some gaps here and there, and there is more matches between the two after this match, but I thought this would be a good place to end, and I tried my best to include as much context as I could for this video without making it unbearably long. If you're still watching, thank you. I truly appreciate your interest in this video, and I hope you found it either entertaining or informative. Let me know what you thought of the video down in the comments below, and until next time, I'll see you later.